This is Street Topics, where we keep it raw and unfiltered. We talk about the topics that you are afraid to, but we are not. You got myself, Jasim, and then, of course, the one and only Donald Baker. He may make you mad, or he may have you laughing. It's depending on how the mood you feel. Regardless, we're going to keep it true, get the facts, and keep it controversial. Are you ready for this episode of Street Topics? Stay tuned, y'all. What up, what up, what up? It's another episode of Street Topics. We're here live in the building. It's your host, C. Holmes. As always, you know we come raw with the Street Topics and hit the conversation and topics you are afraid to hit on. But you know what? We are not to hit on those at all. But, you know, I got to come with my haymaker, the one he over here laughing in the trenches. He's going to throw his grenades and much more. We are talking about the one and only Jasim.
What's going on, man? That's what's going on. It's another day, another dollar.
Another day,
25 cents.
25. What you doing with a whole quarter? What you doing with the whole quarter?
Hey, that's how the government is operating. They
pay nickels and dimes and quarters.
Yeah, they're trying to juke you for the rest of the 75 cents.
Oh man, I want my whole dollar. They're taking the change away, and I'm over here getting upset because they don't give me my full dollar. But hey, man, and the old man, like he would be like this.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, we want our money. But yes, let's hit on this topic: the dangers of the lack of accountability. I know you hit on this quite a bit, but I definitely want to hit on this much more, like how it's impacting us today, society, relationship, business, job. I mean, in general, everything. The lack of accountability. But let's start on a broad, and we go even deeper. What's going on with accountability? I'm gonna start off with that question. What's going on?
That's a good question. What is going on? You know, everyone seemed to be afraid of it versus just accepting it and move forward. What a lot of people don't understand is that the more you run from it, the more it stays with you on whatever that issue may be. You know, when you accept accountability, it's over and done with. Just that quick. But it's always the easiest thing to do that people want to make it as the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, because it's so easy. I mean, in people's minds, so much easier to run away from conflict than actually address it, but you don't get no resolve. I think we're into this time period where a lot of people like to run from their problems, and then when it pretty much is like a cancer, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because we haven't addressed it in, let's say, stage one. We're like, okay, we'll get to it eventually, and just wait and wait and wait and wait. And by the time this thing is like this whole mass, we're like, oh, shit, we got a problem. We got to address this. Then it's almost too late.
Yeah, and you hit it because when that happens, all people are actually doing is digging a larger or wider and a deeper hole for themselves to the point where they can't get out. They're unable to get out. And now they have to suffer the consequences for not accepting that accountability. You know, you mentioned in, you know, just in general, you know, even in relationship, you know, if somebody has accepted accountability on one end, but won't accept accountability in the other, then we have a problem.
Yeah,
and
that never
that's
goes
one
too
that's
well.
one of the many issues in a relationship. You can have one partner that accept it, no problem.
But where's the extra growth if you just have one partner pretty much working on it? It has to be most. It's like, oh, this is going great, and the other person's like, this is going straight to hell. Like,
Right.
Where's the chemistry built in with that?
Right. And because people, for the most part, people always responding on emotion. Emotions get a lot of people in trouble.
But it feels good. You know, people like to go
Emotions get a lot of people in trouble. And don't get me wrong, I act on emotions. Everybody act on emotions.
We do because we're human. We're human.
But if we don't regulate it and cut it off before it gets to a point where it really starts messing us up, then that becomes a problem. And then when that becomes a problem, now are you going to be accountable for you not being able to hold yourself? Or are you just going to pass the excuse or the buck on to the next person? Because technically, let's look at it like this: no one can make you do anything that you don't want to do. So that is an excuse every time somebody says that, because they don't want to hold themselves accountable. I cannot make another person do anything, but I can control my thoughts, my actions, and my desires.
because
And
you have control of that.
that's it.
Well, you speaking on that. And but let me also relate it to this as well. So I'm gonna phrase the question: is it the parents' fault or the individual? But let me frame up why I brought that up, and I want you to dive into it because I know you're gonna break it down. Let's just say this child is brought into this world,
Mhm.
and you have a parent. I'm gonna give worst case scenario. The parent neglects a child. The child is always asking for help or some needs so they can pretty much grow. But the parent constantly neglects the child. Child gets a little older. Now there is, let's say, I guess you say some envy and some anger there. Instead of addressing it or seeking counsel, the parent turns away and there's no resolve. The anger increases. Teenage at years. I'm trying to speed this up so we can get to it. Almost basically high school. Child is pretty much uncontrollable, acts out, wanting attention, and may cause havoc, maybe issues into the school building or in outside of school into real life scenarios. At this point, the parent is saying it's the child's fault, does not want to accept accountability for anything they have probably done, he or she, in the past, and then it gets even more heavier. Now, last little stage, which I'm speeding this up for a question of who's responsible. The child is now adult, let's say 22, not living the best he or she's life, pretty much strung out drugs, maybe causing a lot of criminal activity and much more. And the parent wants nothing to do with this child, and it seems like it pretty much not promotes, progresses into the point where the child ends up in jail. Who's responsible, the child or the parent?
Early stage, it's the parent
Okay.
for the most part. Throughout, it's still the parent's accountability. At the early stage, at some point, that's still the child's accountability of getting in trouble and things of that nature. They still have to be held accountable for their action,
Okay.
no matter
Absolutely.
what took place. Now, when the child becomes an adult and the mother refused to accept or to face the reality of what was done and had done and how it influenced the child, that's still the parent's accountability,
Oh, you probably would have threw people for a twist on that response.
because you're not humbling yourself and owning up to what you did and how it affected emotionally and mentally to that child. Okay.
Yeah, because there was some trauma placed in the
Right.
past because of the parents' actions.
From teenage all the way to an adult, it is the child's responsibility. Ask for help.
So it's the child's responsibility.
To ask for help. You
Okay, I
ask for
see.
everything else. If you ask when you're in school, for example, if there's schools do, don't you ask to go, raise your hand, go ask to go to the restroom, or don't you tell your mom you're hungry, can we eat? Or mom, can I go over to such house? Or mama, can I participate in this activity or this event? So if you can ask for those things, why not ask for help?
Closed mouth don't get fed.
Now, when they become an adult, the accountability weighs more on them, because now you have
I would
no
hope so.
excuse. You have no more excuse, because now you're independent. You're making your own money. You're paying your own bills. You have your own vehicle. You're working. So why not go and pay and get help?
Yeah, because at some point the individual has to take accountability instead of just playing the victim.
Exactly. And that's the problem. A lot of people continue to play the victim when they become adults in age wise, but they still a child mind wise.
So basically, you're saying you have those who are older but still have the mind of a child that may make the same mistakes or worse.
Yep. And they don't want to be held accountable, because to be accountable, you have to be able to look at yourself. And to look at yourself, you have to be humble. A lot of people like to say they humble, but humble is not about words, it's about action.
Yeah,
If
and
you
then you
have to
see
tell
actual
somebody
proof.
that you humble, you ain't humble. Why would I need to go out and tell somebody that I'm black when they can see it for themselves?
It's clear as day. Like you
Exactly.
don't have to say anything. Pretty much the actions say for it. But what do you think makes it so much easier to? I'll just say in American society because I can't reference other countries because I haven't been there. You probably can, but just to stick to America, why do you think it's so easy for people to pretty much so easily go to a victim state than actual to a problem solving state?
Because America has taught that it's okay not to be accountable for your actions.
But
From
who taught that though?
from slavery to the government and how they handle things, and even to the current administration of the president right now, there are some things that he doesn't want to be held accountable. And he either fires someone, removes someone, or he talks bad about someone or to pass the buck on the person. He refused to accept accountability.
So pretty
So
much it's
when
all
you see
around.
that, people are so easily influenced to do what's wrong than to do what's right. So because people are so easily influenced to do what's wrong, they want to be like that. That looks right, but they know it's wrong.
And it's in the public eye. So it's like what they see from the radio station, podcast, streaming, and of course on your TV networks. It's like this is what the acceptable, I guess, actions is, and then pretty much say, well, I deserve the same treatment. But it's not really resolving anything. In my opinion, I think it's making things worse when
No.
you constantly do that.
Yeah,
It's
and
like
you
trying to put a band-aid on an actual real wound and thinking like everything's going to be all right. No, there's some serious issues within this wound that needs to be addressed. You just like, okay, here's a little cover, it's going to be okay.
and that is the reason why so many people are suffering to the point where it affects them mentally, and then when it affects them mentally, they are unable to function as what some people may label as being on a normal level.
True. Now, let me get your opinion on this. And, this is like the Raw podcast, so we know we're not afraid to ask these certain questions. When it comes to religion, yeah, I'm going to go there. Do people take religion as a way of healing to get better and problem solve? Or do you see more people use religion as a crutch to not face their conflicts? Ooh,
That's a good question, and the easiest answer is this: people hide behind religion to avoid accountability, to make excuses for their actions that they knew was wrong before they did it. So they want to justify it by hiding behind religion to say, oh, God told me or God showed me, when in fact, it does not line nowhere close to the scriptures. And so it leaves a bad taste for those individuals that are seeking and want to have a relationship with God or want to go to the church. But now you have people that run from the church because you have those individuals that want to play church but don't want to be part of the church.
Ooh, you over here speaking a little bit
This
too
guy
much
too
wisdom.
good. This guy.
They ain't really ready for that. You
Well, I
getting
mean,
deep.
it's the truth, because when people are like that, what they so-called Bible thumpers, they
Did you
want
just say Bible fathers?
Bible thumpers. They just want to tell you the scripture this, tell you the scripture that. You need to do
Oh,
this, you need to
people
do
ain't gonna
that.
like that.
And it's like they forcing it. But what example in the scripture did Christ force anything up on anyone when he walked the earth? There's nowhere in scripture where he forced. When they did not want him in a town, he left.
He did not play at all. They're like, where you go?
He
Well,
left. When they did not want
gone.
him, he left.
No
Everywhere he
questions
went,
asked.
when
Just
they did
left.
not want him,
He
he
left.
left.
He
He
didn't
did
stay
not
around.
force it. He preached
No,
it. You didn't want to hear it, and he moved on.
basically.
But I understand because it is the Western white conservative Christians that use that to make black people believe what they want them to believe during the slavery time. And some of that mentality is still being taught from generations to generation.
All right, so I got to add this heavy question. I want to get your viewpoint on this because in my, I think this has actually effed us up a little bit because it seems like we can't get to more progressive rate where it can actually grow. But here's my question: It is, has religion actually helped influence us to get better, or is it now in today's age in 2025 became an actual cage? I know.
When you think about it, looking at it as an individual, no. But when you look at it as a group, I would say yes.
Hmm.
Because you have some individuals that's growing, that's genuinely growing. Then you have groups who are not growing, right? I just wrote a blog on In the Trenches and put it on my website that spoke, and I was talking about what is going on with the Muslim and the what's going on in Nigeria, basically, how they're killing Christians. Well, when you look at
Yeah.
The Quran has nothing about killing. And if you murder someone, it is considered as a sin. Only
Yeah.
time the Quran speaks in regards to such a manner, it is only to protect yourself. That's it. So, what they're doing is they're taking the Quran and they're doing it like Jim Jones did with the Bible. They are manipulating the original text, the original meaning, and they are forgetting the history behind why Muhammad said what he said.
All right, so I'm gonna build off of that one and ask another deep question. So who's at fault when it comes to that? Is it the education system or the individual that refuses to study?
It's the individual that refused to study.
Because you know, in today, especially here, we like to blame the education system pretty much
It
all
is.
the time.
It is.
And I know there is flaws.
It's the individual's fault for not reading for themselves, not double checking themselves what somebody tells them. And this is the problem, and this is why people don't want to be held accountable. Because once you read and you know and you have that knowledge, now you are truly accountable. So to avoid being truly accountable, let's not read anything and just take somebody's word for it. So when something goes wrong, I can easily blame the other person. But when you think about it, that sounds just as about as stupid as having a dog tell you
He said,
what's
a
going
dog.
on. And you know the
What's
dog can't
going
speak
on?
no lick of English, you know. So this is an issue in regard, and then besides that, man is the one that created religion to
See,
divide people.
this is something that I've been thinking and debating, going back and forth with my colleagues for the longest. And it's been good, clean debates, but that is one thing that's constantly in my mind. And I believe, especially now, after reading a good amount of my sociology books, and I love sociology because one thing it taught me is like your environment, your education, uh, your family upbringings, your experiences, your education, all this and much more forms your perspective when it comes to your view of life. And I didn't think about that at first until I kind of read that, but it does make sense
Mhm.
because a lot of those factors actually form your moral value or your moral, your, I guess you say your concept, I mean, a concept, your compass of what direction you should go.
Mhm.
And with that said, if let's say those who are corrupt pretty much are feeding you this information from your environment, education, religious, pretty much home and much more. Who's at fault? Who's at accountability? Is it you or those other influence? And I like how you said like it's the individual because they should know better. But I know on the opposite end, people are going to say, well, how could that person know if they just got into those kind of environments or if they're at a young age? Because I can
That's
see the
that's
argument going back and forth.
that's easy. That is so easy. If a person says they believe in God, let's go there, right? So in Genesis, it says God put the breath of life in Adam, correct? So when he did that, he put his spirit in him, his likeness, right? The likeness is being able to judge right and wrong. So when someone says or does something in your spirit, it's telling you either not to do it or you should do it. So when
Right.
people is telling you not to do something and you know it's wrong,
You can do it
but you
anyway.
chose to do it, that's God speaking to you. His spirit is speaking to you, telling you. So that's still no excuse. Even though he gives you a choice, that's why he's saying don't do it. Then you in your flesh saying, I want to do it. He gives you a choice. So when you choose to do wrong and he told you, no, that ain't right, then you are held accountable.
Right. Now, I got two more things for to close off the show, and I want to brief on this because we can have a whole episode on this by itself, and I think we hit on this, but we'll see in the future. I believe, and this is my opinion, you can put in your wisdom because I know you're gonna have more wisdom. I'm a young grasshopper, as you like to always say. But I think at this point, I believe when it comes to marriage, both the man and woman have to hold accountability of themselves and able to form together as one. I think what's going on is we're having too much of the society saying only one party needs to take accountability and not the other. Is my question is the lack of accountability destroying marriages and relationships?
Yes, because you hear this quote, a happy wife is what?
A happy life. I can't stand that damn quote to be honest.
So who created the quote? Females.
You
So what they're saying, as long as I'm happy and you do everything I want you to do, I'm happy. Even when I'm wrong, I want to be right.
how is that a union?
Right? That's the mentality, and that is what that quote is saying, right? The man can do something and be held accountable to the high, but when it's time for the other partner to be held, now they pick up their bags, they pick up their luggage or their purse or whatever, and they run. And you're right. That is one of many reasons why marriages do not, because it's always one partner holding it down for accountability for themselves and trying to hold accountability with the other person, but the other individual
Doesn't
will
really
not
give a
and
damn.
won't hold themselves accountable, and it
Nope.
causes a chaos or
Frick. Yep.
conflict in the marriage or in a relationship.
Right, right. Now I have this question. I'm gonna try to bring up this video. Hopefully it plays well. Let me bring this tab back over. But as I get this together, and this is gonna hit some under some people's skin because we may have to do a whole nother episode on this one too. Who's responsible if you die broke? You have those that believe that you can be born broke, but if you die broke, it's your fault. So let me show this video and get your point of view and my opinion
Yeah, I'm kind of
before we
confused about
close.
that one.
Yeah, and then we're gonna go from there. All right, so let me bring it up. And this is a short script. Like we can honestly have a whole episode about that, and I debate that with colleagues. But here we go. Get the screen up. All right, here we go. Play this one.
If you can't get rich, it's your fault.
That I'll do an MBA degree, I'll work for somebody for 3-4 years, learn that experience, and then start something of my own. But what happens is usually they don't start, but they get sucked into it. Do you think that's a good path for people, or they should not even bother?
What I know, I flunked out of school, man. But unfortunately, our schools program us: go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, pay taxes, buy a house, and invest in the stock market. Mr. Tata offered you $10 million a year. Would you take the job? Of course you would.
Yeah, most people.
I wouldn't take it. You got to take your brain. If you want to go back to school, get your MBA and work for Mr. Tata, good life. I don't want to do that. Do you understand? It's just, what do you want? What do you guys want? That's the question. If you can't.
Right.
He has a point. He's right. He's right. School is programmed. And we spoke about it on your show and in the trenches, and even Baker has even mentioned it. The school system is set up as a route for prison. They have the same setup. Line up before you walk down the hall. Keep your hands behind your back.
On your back. Walk in a single file line.
Single file. Every single thing.
Yep.
You know. And so the purpose of school is to make and create workers for the business owners and for the rich and the wealthy. The question is, why continue to do that when the experience and the knowledge that you have and the observation that you have taken in from watching and working all these years, take all that information and create your own. Change it up a little bit, so make it your own personal. You know, this is the problem that a lot of people don't want to, because one, they're scared. Yep. And the biggest part of being scared is they don't want to be held accountable.
Yep.
Because if something goes wrong, you learn from it, you fix it, you tweak it, and you move forward. You know, but no one wants to be held accountable. And because of that, it is a safety net to work for someone. And then you want to complain about who you're working for, who you're working with. But yet and still, you have the knowledge, you have the experience, you have the fortitude. If you can have the fortitude for someone that's paying you, why you can't have that same fortitude for yourself?
I knew it. Ooh.
Bottom line. Is it going to be hard? Yes, starting off. It will be hard. It's going to be hard. But what's more important? When you turn in 60 and you can sit back and you don't have to do nothing, and you have money coming in because you made a business that was so successful.
Now we have a great comment. Thank you. I think Liberty Twitcher for this. But here's a good comment. But everyone tells us we're victims. So why should we be accountable? It's not our fault. Our situation, it is the way it is. Thank you for the comment.
I have to. You can leave that back up. I have to agree to disagree, because if everyone is telling you a victim and you believe that, and you know in your hearts of hearts that you're not a victim, but you mentally believe that, that just shows the weakness of your mind. It shows that you're not even mentally strong to be able to resist the mind games that's being played, and to not see that, yes, you are accountable. Now, when the statement about it's not our fault or our situation, yes, it is, because anytime someone puts you in a situation, you can always find either go around on the right side, go on the left side, go up underneath, or go on top. You don't always have to go straight through the situation. There's always a solution to every problem. Every problem, there's a solution. It might take longer than it normally would, and you may not be as patient. But if you're not patient, because it might take you longer, then that's another issue the individual has, to be accountable and learn patience.
Let me go ahead and speak on this too. Because I'm not gonna lie, like of course I have I'm constant learning, but when you are in tough environments and things are not going your way, and it seems like why the hell is this all happening to me and not anybody else? It is very easy to start thinking like this is not my fault, but you're in a situation. In the beginning, and I do agree with the previous video. I don't know if you saw that. In the beginning, it's not your fault because you were born in that situation. You're pretty much there. But as you have time to make actions and changes, it's more of like, what are you going to do to now? Like, are you going to stay in that rut, or are you going to accept it and pretty much continue with the rest of the cycle like everybody else? Or are you going to make a change? Are you going to take a risk for yourself to change the environment? And like you were saying, it's not easy. It's hard as hell out here. I mean, we all get it. Like, I feel you and I understand where you're going with that comment. But is it easy? Hell no. It is not easy. I wish it was easy. I'm being this real. I wish it was easy. But at the same time, you don't learn. You don't learn. You don't learn after going through after challenges. But I do wish it was easy. But you learn through going through challenges and mistakes. And it's up to you. Like, are you going to make the necessary changes to make your life better?
Right. Are you going to just keep sitting there? Somebody knock you down. You going to just keep laying down there? Or are you going to get up? And it also reflects the type of person or type of individual that person is, that every time you get knocked down, how many times you going to keep getting up? Because every time you get up, every time you get knocked down, that shows the other person that you're a fighter. You're not going to give up so easy. You know, you're not throwing in the towel.
I ain't gonna lie. I have met a couple, and I've heard this from other champions through interviews and some like local champions in boxing. They said like the biggest, or they wouldn't say fear, they said the most challenging opponent is the mother that don't give up. Because like you have the first couple of rounds and you're going good everything your way, and you're like looking at this person like this, it's not phasing them. Like what the is going on?
No, it phases. Like but they just so determined.
Yeah, and it keeps coming. It keeps coming.
And if you don't have that determination and you keep getting knocked down and then you just say, forget it. Yes, anything that happens, that's your fault because you have a choice still to either to get up or to lay there.
And accept it.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's not easy out here in these streets or in the real world of truth. But trust me, I believe I speak to Johnson. We do wish that things were a lot more easy, but it's life like that, and it's not. Unfortunately, it's not. So accountability, the dangers, the lack of accountability. We discussed that and much more. But before we go ahead and close it out, man, go ahead and tell the people where they can find you at.
Oh man, you can find us in the Trenches podcast, where you can JASSIM every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on the YouTube channel. But also for the audio, you can check on all podcast platforms. And guess what? Check out our website, because guess what? I just posted some new blogs that'll get you thinking on In the Trenches podcast. It is INTHA, not THE now, because you know I had to put some street into it.
The.
Exactly.
Man, oh man, oh man. But as always, this is your host, C. Holmes, as always, bringing to you Street Topics, where we talk about the conversation that y'all afraid of, but we not. But go ahead and keep those comments, and I would greatly appreciate it because you keep us going to hit on these topics and much more. So make sure you subscribe and share to others, because the word gets out with your help. And so make sure you subscribe to my YouTube, Soul Production, that's where it's at, or look up Street Topics. Yeah, you can find it. Don't act like you don't know how to use ChatGPT or Google. You can find it. Search for the hashtag. Don't act dumb over here. There's too many dang platforms out here. But anyway, as it comes to a close, accountability. Is it your fault? I think you just run away from responsibility. But hey, that's my take. Until then, catch us next time on next episode of Street Topics. Peace.
Peace.